I love this quote that he has. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. This will emerge. Most everything, I'd say 90% of the people don't have those pieces. They actually skip directly to a goal or a plan. So, and they do it based on what works for other people. And it's like they will copy just because somebody has given them like an amazing vision that they've had, and they have a plan that they've followed. And this works perfectly with people who sell these systems, whether it's be in real estate business. Like, this business model is the best one ever. Thank you for joining us here for this video. We've noticed that there are a certain percentage or a high percentage of our audience haven't subscribed to our channel. If you can please click on the button to subscribe to the channel, it will help us create more content. It will help us, which will help us reach more amazing people like you, to support them, to serve them. So please click on the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye. So we'll jump in. This week is on clarity. I mean, when we did the Santa Fe event, there was a lot of it was on clarity, and that was on purpose because and the way I've named this session or titled it is that clarity is the prerequisite to impactful action. So it's not required to take action a lot of times. You need minimal clarity to take action. But if you're looking for impactful action in your personal life and business, you need a deeper level of clarity. And I'll talk about some of the elephant in the room around this, but we'll start with clarity, which is your foundation for taking impactful action. And I want to repeat, the term impactful action is the key here. And a couple of elephants in the room. One is inaction, and the other one is regret. I want to talk about that. I'll talk about regret at the end as well. But if you're somebody who is in paralysis analysis mode or in inaction mode, and you've spent a bunch of time looking at your goals, looking at a bunch of stuff, and you're still not taking action, that means that you're stuck for some other reason. That means you probably have enough clarity to move forward. There's probably a fear, a discomfort, or resistance that is stopping you from moving forward, which means that it's either a blind spot or you're aware of it and you can't get yourself over the hump. So if you're in inaction, then I encourage you to take action. And how I frame this, and even in our message, is that a lot of clarity happens when you're taking action. So if you have built an initial plan, if you built a bunch of stuff that I'm going to talk about initially, then your job is to take action, a lot like what you said, Thomas, is to experiment with your recipe. If you're not experimenting with it, you're in the world of theory. It's not going to go anywhere. That's just a foundation. So if you're in action, your job is to go take action. We can still develop clarity through action, and while you're taking action, you're also working on it in the background as well. So that does not stop you. So this is not about stopping your action and developing clarity. This is about creating enough clarity to create impactful action. And the way I'll put it is, and there's in the personal development and growth world, is there are two terms that are used. One is that, you need to take massive action or consistent action, and both are great terms. And some people say, no, you don't need to take massive action, you need to take micro actions. This is just different fun ways to say the same thing because they want to contradict the other person. But the bottom line is consistent, massive, or micro action, it doesn't matter. Yes, you need to take that. But imagine you took massive action. You look at it as like your goal is, or your vision is, to climb this mountain, and you're like, I'm going to take consistent, massive action, and you go towards that mountain. You put in effort and over effort, energy, time, all that. So you get to the top, and you look around, and you're like, oh shit, I climbed the wrong mountain. And that's the pain of regret. And regret comes in two forms. One, and I'll talk about it at the end as well. One, it comes from inaction, which that's why I said that if you're stuck with inaction, take action. That'll give you a lot of clarity. The other one is taking consistent action, putting all the time and energy towards something that is not aligned with you. And both of them end up with regret. Sometimes that regret is from not doing something. Sometimes, a lot of times, that regret is from going in the wrong direction. That's what we want to avoid. And this is where clarity it becomes important for impactful action. What is the thing that feels aligned with you? This is why part of the reason in our in-person event we started with vision, but there are three elements I want to talk about here: vision, strategy, and system. And I'll quote James Clear. If you haven't read his book, Atomic Habits, definitely read it. I love this quote that he has: "You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." Everything will end up in a system. So I don't believe in setting goals and going towards them, because you could do that, but one, if you don't have the right system, the goal, you're not going to go to it, because everybody has goals, or most people do. And if you're, especially if you're a high achiever, you have goals. That doesn't mean every person will hit the goals. That doesn't mean every person will be effective at going towards the goals. So you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your system. So this is why I look at it in that tier, that you need to make a few things clear, and that's vision, strategy, and the last one is systems. And we'll talk about how that turns into a system. And I walk my clients, and many of you who are in this program, through our process to build a system. It's more of a guideline process. In fact, it's happening right now. We're doing the 10XU 2026 to build your plan and system for the next 5 years, and I help my clients walk through that multiple times, and I do that myself. So it's not something I teach where I don't do it. It's something that I kind of have had to experiment with. So here's where I'll go. So the first piece: why is vision important? I'll talk about the vision is important because it's not just a goal, it connects to your purpose and courage, and they're both wrapped into your identity. If you don't have a greater sense of purpose, something is not bigger than you, and you don't develop the courage to consistently go towards something that's difficult, that is hard. Almost everything in the beginning looks exciting. After a while, it becomes hard and it becomes boring. And I love this quote from a paraphrased version of Alex Hormozi. He's like, if you haven't done the redundant and boring work for a long, long, long time before you become successful or whatever, then you're not doing the right thing. And here's what most investors, entrepreneurs, people who are high performers do: they jump into this big project or this big business or whatever they're going towards because it looks exciting. They go towards it, and after a little while, the excitement wears off. Then now they're in a routine. They're doing the same thing over and over. It gets too boring. Guess what happens? Now they look for another exciting thing. I've done that in the past. I know many high achievers do that, partly because we're looking to learn new things, partly because variety is the spice of life. But here's the thing: most success is a long-term process. Most fulfillment is a long-term dedication. It doesn't, and it happens in every part of our life. It happens in our work. It even happens in the spiritual practices. Most people will get bored of their own practices of sitting there praying or sitting there meditating because they're like, oh, I need something else. This is not working. No, you haven't done it long enough or deep enough, one or the other. And so you're just getting bored in the process, or your mind is wanting to take you towards something else that looks easier and more interesting. And anytime there's easy and interesting, those are two recipes that is good, generally speaking, but specifically for creating long-term success, it's not good. For long-term fulfillment, it's not good. This is where your identity, which gets wrapped around your vision, your purpose, your courage, they become very important, because even when things get boring, even when things get hard, you push through. Why? Because it's deeply important to you. So you might not love every piece of the process you're going through, but you're like, you know what? This is important to me. This matters to me in the bigger picture. So I'm going to keep going towards it. This is significant for me. And only you can determine that. That's where your why comes in. That's where the kind of person you are, your values. That's where your courage will emerge. That's where your sense of purpose will emerge. Most people, I'd say 90% of the people, don't have those pieces. They actually skip directly to a goal or a plan. So, and they do it based on what works for other people. And it's like they will copy just because somebody has given them like an amazing vision that they've had, and they have a plan that they've followed. And this works perfectly with people who sell these systems, whether it's be in real estate business. Like, this business model is the best one ever. I remember when I was in the first day, I had a physics professor in engineering school. I don't know why he framed it that way, but I did not like him after that. actually, I got confused by what he said, and I kind of like, oh, that's amazing. But later on, I thought about it. I'm like, why would he frame it like this? So I get into the first day of class. He spent 40 minutes talking about why physics is the best form of science, best subject in all of sciences. I'm like, why do I need? At first, I was like, oh yeah, physics is amazing. It sets the foundation for all the other sciences. Then later on, I thought about it. I'm like, why does he need to put all the other sciences down for physics to go at a higher standard? Why didn't he spend that time actually helping us understand physics better? And that I realized, he wasn't actually teaching. He was just selling the thing, but he did it in a way to put other things down. And I didn't like it. And a lot of people will sell you a system for a business. Oh, do multifamily, do this model, do that model. If you actually look at the top 10 to 20% of the people in each of these models, they're all doing well. They're all doing great because they have actually dedicated a large percentage of their time and energy into that model, and they understand it well. Now, the bottom 80%, 70%, they don't understand that it takes dedication. It takes a lot of experimentation. All of them will work. Now, which one feels aligned with you? That connects to your vision. But all models work if you work. If you don't work, it doesn't matter what somebody teaches you. It will not work. And this is where a lot of people skip to this, but this is second to vision for me. Strategy equals your plan. Or some people, even I say it's strategic plan. That's a little bit redundant, but a plan is strategy. Which means that now you take that powerful vision, that sense of purpose, that sense of identity that you have, and you've decided that you're going to do the hard thing, you're going to do it for a long time. I'm going to put a plan behind it. What does a plan mean? Which means that I'm going to put a deadline there. I'm going to work on it for a certain amount of time. I'm going to break down this big thing into smaller chunks. And then I will build system behind it. That's where James Clear's idea comes in. You don't rise to the level of your goals. Just because you have goals doesn't make you any better than the next person who has goals. But you fall to the level of your systems, which means that if you don't have great systems, I don't care how great your goals and vision are, it will not work, because ultimately what you will end up with is consistency, habits, routine, and those things. Most people cannot sustain it because either they do it the wrong way. So, for example, right now I'm trying to refine my diet and trying to do something that I can do it sustainably for a long time. Now, in the past, I would do something and I would be like, I'm going to do it for discipline. And I would do it for a month, 2 months, 3 months. By the third month, it drops. And one of the key factors there is that I didn't like what I was eating. So I couldn't sustain it long term. Now I could force willpower to sustain it even longer, but at some point it will break down. So one of the key things that I'm working on is like, well, how can I like the thing so I can turn it into a long-term part of my lifestyle rather than a diet? This is why we know that diets don't work long-term. What works is lifestyle change. What works is long-term habits. And by the way, habits internally, whether it's the way you do things consistently, the way you think, the way you receive information from your world, the way you treat people, they're all your internal systems. And then I've added it to the system bucket. Is the other one is, so habits are your internal system and tech is your external systems. So tech might be your calendar system. Tech might be any technology that is an extension. The calendar system organizes your mind's ability to understand time visually, or your reminder for tasks and goals like a CRM system, or your leads tracking sheet that reminds you to connect with the right people. If you don't have those texts, the things that we do are too complex. Your memory will not remember. And a lot of people don't realize our brain has evolved to understand very simple things in terms of time. Like all we understand is sunrise, midday, and sunset. We're not that different from our ancestors. The only difference is we have developed these technologies that help us remember the details, just like we've developed a car that help us run faster. But we just press on the gas, we're using the engine, but it's an extension of us, that technology. Calendar system is an extension of how our memory works in real time in terms of understanding time. People don't understand that, so they don't build it. They try to use their memory and it backfires. So even though they want to be consistent, they want to develop a system, it's not enough. So if you don't have a system that you like which means your internal habits, the way you've organized and designed your thought processes, how you look at your life, how you act, how you think, it's not going to be sustainable. If you're not using enough technology, it doesn't mean you use every technology under the sun. I only have 3 or 4 things that I use: CRM, calendar system, some kind of notes system, and CRM also connects to the lead system. And then I have my Kajabi. It's a system that it takes care of all the marketing and team and other things. So it's like 3 or 4 systems can run your business and your whole life pretty much. So if you don't have that, you can have a powerful vision, but you will keep, and this is what happens. There are people that I meet who are very purposeful and powerful, but they haven't built enough of a system. So the thing that they're trying to do, they keep falling because their mind gets overloaded. It's too big of a task. It might not even happen for the next 10 years or 20 years, but they're not building enough. And also part of the system is also people too. So part of your system is who else can support me in here? Where can I delegate in here? Where can other people help me, whether in your personal life or business? And finally, all these things that I'm referring to, and I'll go back to this card, is vision, strategy, and system. All these refer to these 2 major things. Whether you do it through vision, strategy, and system or some other way, long-term thinking plus identity and values alignment. So all this is that most people who are dedicated, it doesn't matter what world you look at the business world, look at somebody like Warren Buffett. He is not the best investor in the world, but he's considered the best because he's had consistently 22% return on all the investments. There have been ones who can who can have an investment ROI of 60% plus, but they haven't lasted long. And he always says that I would rather focus on something that's long-term than short-term. He gives all kinds of examples, and he's been around for 70 plus years of investing. And people will trust billions of dollars for him. Why? Because they know that he doesn't take shortcuts. He looks at the long-term process. He has a system in it. He's intuitive. He understands his craft. And also, if you actually study his biography a little bit, you find out that a lot of his wealth was amassed just not that long ago, just a few years ago. He wasn't even a billionaire until recently. It kind of developed over the course of decades. And he's like, and this is why he doesn't go towards anything that cannot be long term. Most amazing business owners, not just business owners, think of people who have created movements like Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi. Think of people who started religions. They never thought, even in their lifetime, this thing will be developed. They thought of it as, hey, this is going to create a chain reaction. And in most cases, many of these people were not given any importance in their lifetime or even a few hundred years after them. But they started the process. They looked at it as long-term, even beyond their life. And a lot of really great leaders, that's how they look at things. It doesn't have to be done right now, but I can start the process, lay the foundations. So if you want clarity towards impactful action, all that work needs to be done. And the reason why most people don't do it is because it actually takes a lot of mental bandwidth. It takes a lot of energy. It takes actual sitting down and looking and battling through, does this feel aligned with me? These obligations that I've taken on, these relationships that I'm a part of, and then we have fears and resistance and things that are uncomfortable to do. You might have to make it to have difficult conversation. You might have to cut out some things. You might have to start uncomfortable things like new habits and systems. You might have to make commitments, and none of those are comfortable. So this is why we start with vision, long term. Then we build a plan. Okay, I'm going to do it one step at a time. I might not do it perfectly, but I'll keep doing it. Then I'm going to build a system of habits around thinking about it, feeling it, and doing it consistently. This is where a consistent action comes in. And our goal is that we get to wherever we want to get to while we're building ourselves up. And my hope is that when you get there 5 years, 10 years from now on, you look back and say, you know what, those were 5-10 years well lived. And I can build on that for the next 5-10 years, not just for myself, but for my family. I've just modeled something for my team, for my community, that they can carry for the rest of their life and maybe in the next generations. To me, that is worth it, that you lift a life without compromising your values, integrity. You lived in alignment with what mattered, and you also built a model for other people. Much more valuable than money you're going to pass on, much more valuable than assets you're going to pass down. Because guess what? Your child, your team members, once they develop this ethics, whether it's a work ethic or the way they look at the world, their perception, it will shape how they show up. They can start from scratch and they can build something amazingly. People don't realize how capable a lot of people are. Go look at all the millionaires and successful people in the Western world. You find out that a good majority of them are first generation millionaires. A good majority of them have come from very difficult circumstances. They were not wealthy. A lot of people assume that it's a generational wealth. It's not. Those are a small portion. They've been and the people who are building it out, they're doing it in one generation, and they're passing on some powerful skill sets and models for the next generation. So don't feel like, oh, this hasn't been happening to me for a while and I don't have the foundation. Yeah, there are people who have wealth for multiple generations, and now kudos to the people who started the legacy a few generations ago. But I want to build something like that, not just not necessarily wealth, money per se, or assets. That could be part of it, but for me, the most important thing is long-term values, identity, your sense of purpose, how you run your day-to-day life, and are you conscious about that? How you impact other people, how you treat other people, and what you're leaving behind for them. And ultimately, I'll leave it with this statement that we come into this world with ourselves. We're going to go with ourselves. You're not going to take anything with you. It was, I think it was one of my, was a friend, somebody who said that. Have you ever seen, it was a podcast I was in. Have you ever seen somebody, a funeral procession with a U-Haul truck behind it? Egyptians used to do that. They would put a bunch of their stuff in their with their grave. But we know that we're not taking anything. But what you do leave behind is better models, better values, better ways for people to continue forward. They don't have to remember you, but if they can remember those things, that will continue with them. And I believe in the continuation of life. I don't believe there is death in the way that we normally understand it. There's physical death, but I get to carry myself, at least the essence, and I get to pass down whatever I do. And my value is that I leave my world, even if it's my family, better than I came here with. That's my job as somebody that comes into this life. And I also believe I need to live my life fully and enjoy it. So they both work. I'll leave it at that.